With some characters surviving the events of the Ghostface killings, which characters could we possibly see return in the future?
Your lemon squares taste like ass.
Welcome to another Ice Cream Sunday where I talk about my favourite franchise, Scream. My name is Em, aka Horror, and in today's video I will be talking about a few characters who we could possibly see return in the future.
Hello there. I think I'll just wait a minute and let the Scream math breathe a little bit. My name's Joseph Whipp. I was fortunate enough to be able to get the opportunity to play Sheriff Burke in the original Scream. I was also in the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I worked with Wes Craven several other times. Wes was a terrific guy. But my purpose here is to welcome you to Ice Cream Sunday. Fantastic idea. I like that. Ice Cream Sunday. Have an Ice Cream Sunday. Hey, Dewey, where the hell you been? Thank you.
This leads me perfectly to the first character that I am going to be discussing today, which is Sheriff Burke himself. Although his role was quite a small role in the first movie, I do personally think it is one that held importance, as he did highlight that the phone calls were linked to Neil Prescott's phone, which threw any scent off Billy and Stu at the time. He was a fun character for me to watch, as I liked his dynamic with Dewey, and he is a character that I would like to see return. I personally think it would be interesting to see him provide his recollection of what happened and also talk about the aftermath on Woodsboro and the people who lived there. It could also be a way that they could confirm if Stu is alive or dead. Obviously, this is something that is not only debated within the real world but also within the Scream universe itself. So it could also be that people blamed Sheriff Burke and said that he covered up that Stu was alive and got him out of there, which could have caused some backlash on the character himself. It would also be interesting to hear if this did have an impact on him personally, what it did to his career and how he handled the aftermath. He is also someone that would have had access to Gail's footage and could be the person that brings this in the future. As a fan base, this is something that we have wanted to see for quite a long time, so he could be the person to actually bring this in. It is also worth pointing out that Sheriff Burke was a red herring in the first movie, as he was wearing very similar shoes to what Ghostface was wearing when we saw Ghostface in the bathroom. So could Sheriff Burke have been involved with the killings in the first movie, and did he help Stu escape? Another character I am going to quickly just talk about is Neil Prescott. Although it was mentioned in a deleted scene from Scream 4 that Neil had passed away, this hasn't been mentioned in the final cuts of the movie, so is therefore not really canon. His presence in a future installment would be interesting to see for Sidney, and he would be able to provide support where it would be missing. He could also help Sidney deal with any sort of resentment or bad feelings that she still has towards Maureen and be the person there to support her where she most needs it. It would also be nice to see Sidney have some sort of parental figure still and a family member outside of her husband and children. Having Neil return would also be another way that we could see Sidney's vulnerability, as he would also be a target for Ghostface, so she would have a lot more to worry about than what she's ever had before. We've also not really seen how the events of Scream and Scream 3 affected Neil, and also his feelings towards Maureen have never really been explained, so this could also be something that we could see, and that would just add a little bit to the story. One character I would absolutely love to see come back would be Joel, Gail's cameraman from Scream 2. We haven't seen Gail have a relationship with a cameraman since this movie, and to bring Joel back as either her cameraman or some sort of co-worker of Gail would be really good for further character development from Gail, and it would also be a bit of comic relief. Joel was that character in Scream 2 that definitely brought the comedy. He was also very smart, and he got himself out of the situation when he knew that he could possibly be a target, which we've never really seen a character do before. His version of the events would be a nostalgic recollection, and it would also be interesting to see how far he has come and what his character has been up to since the events he witnessed. Joel was a very lovable character, and I know that there are quite a lot of people who would enjoy to see him come back, so I do hope that this is something that they do in the future. For my next character, I am going to be talking about Martha Meeks. Now, I have spoken about her return before. However, the videos that I have done before have been talking about a different way that she could return to what I'm about to discuss. So if you would like to hear my other theories on Martha, I will link the videos in the description and I will also put them up on the screen. So Martha Meeks does play a very important role in the franchise, and despite her appearance only being very small, she does link the old to the new. She has helped Sidney, Dewey and Gail previously, and her return to the franchise could see a more supportive role not only to Sidney and Gail, but also to her children Chad and Mindy. As they have both now been in the target line of Ghostface twice, they have scars both mentally and physically which will be long lasting and need some sort of support. Seeing Martha support them in the new way could add substance to the story going forward, and it would be a very fresh perspective to the character. She is also the obvious link to Randy and the rules, so she could also be incorporated somehow with the rules going forward. I love Martha Meeks, and again she is quite a comical relief character, so to have her return would be very fun to see in a slightly larger role. Now, there are other characters who could return to the franchise in the future, however these four are the main four that I would like to see return personally, but I am going to mention a few honourable mentions. We do, of course, have Lois and Murphy, the sorority girls from Scream 2. It could be very interesting to see them return and their recollection of the events of Scream 2. And did they feel slightly responsible for the death of Derek, as they were there when he was tied up, which made him more vulnerable at the time of his death? Another quick mention is Mark Kincaid. Now, although he is not returning for Scream 7 as Sidney's husband as originally planned, this doesn't mean that he could never return in the future. He could definitely re-enter as a friend of Sidney and Gail, with a fresh take on how to identify Ghostface killers and use his experience to help solve the case of future installments. As his line of work is also in the police force, he could also be somebody who is hiding something from Sidney and Gail if Stu is going to be alive. I also obviously cannot do this video without mentioning Sam and Tara. Now, I know that many fans are disappointed that they won't be returning to the franchise for Scream 7, but this doesn't mean that they won't return in the future to show us where they have been, how they have been coping, and where their trauma has taken them. Although Scream 6 was a good ending for the siblings, it would be nice to see them return in the future, as they have been a huge part of the most recent takes on the franchise. Whether you are a fan who would rather see a Sidney-centric movie rather than a Sam-centric movie, it can't be denied that Sam and Tara have brought something to the franchise, including a completely new fan base. So to see them return would definitely put closure to their story whilst serving all of the fan base at the same time. So as always, what do you guys think? Are there any characters that I have missed who you would like to see return? Let me know down in the comments section. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and switch on that notifications button, as I will be uploading more content like this. This is an AI-free channel and I do everything on my own, so any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. You can check out my other content here. With that being said, I will see you in the next video.